Now. Hey y'all, what's going on? It's funny because I be like yelling. I'll start yelling like, "Hey y'all," and then people be like, "Whoa!" So we are here with another amazing panel. I'm so excited to introduce all of these amazing people to you guys, you ladies, you gents. I want to make sure nobody is offended here. So all of you, see how that's echoed just now. So just make sure you mute it. So I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Chenae Erkerd. I am known, branded, coined myself as the recruiter cousin because I want all of you to feel like family when you are talking to me. I want to make sure that we bridge the gap between how to get a job while we're being ghosted in some situations, how not to ghost people, and then all of the things in between. So we are here with literally like the creme de la creme of like recruiters and resume writers and career coaches and all of that. And so I wanted to make sure I introduced some amazing recruiters to you all, some amazing resume writers to you all, and career coaches, because I want all of you to understand that it is 100% possible to not be ghosted by a recruiter and actually have a really good recruiter on your side. And these are some of the recruiters that I'm referring to. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves and then we'll get into the questions. So I will start with Joy. Hey, Joy.
Hey, Chenae. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. As Chenae said, my name is Joy. I am based out of Los Angeles. I am a senior sales recruiter, currently in the tech industry. And I got into recruiting completely by accident. I was supposed to be a casting director or a costumer, and I was on a break from working in entertainment and ended up getting into HR, and then a year later recruiting, and the rest is history.
I love it. I think it's interesting because I think all of us have that same story. Like none of us really sought out recruiting for real. I barely get people who actually be like, I wanted to be a recruiter, except for Bobby, because I think Bobby was like, I like them people over there, so I want to go work in that department over there, and I like the recruiter, so I'm gonna go be a recruiter. I was not that person. I was like, oh, this is recruiting, great, let's do it. Okay, Jamila, go ahead.
Hey everyone, my name is Jamila. Also go by Recruiter Swag, which is Recruiter Sis with a goal. My goal is to help people unleash their star power and share their gifts with the world. So I really excited to be here tonight and hopefully we'll drop so many gems that you will leave with a notebook full of good stuff. I got into recruiting about 2 years ago. I actually was someone that kind of enjoyed it. I had a little taste of HR and I knew I wanted to kind of get into recruiting. I'm based in Southwest Florida and I'm really excited to be here. So, and I'm a tech recruiter.
Love it. Thank you. NECA.
Hi everyone, I'm Neka Ichu. I am also hashtag recruiter sis. I started off in my career within academic advising and then stumbled into recruiting once I was ready for a leap from what I was comfortable in. And man, I'm very happy that I made it into, first of all, tech recruiting, and now I'm in the tech HR recruiting space. And it's been a journey, and I'm excited to help people along their own. If you followed me for a little bit, I like to put out affirmations and just a bunch of different job resources. So I'm excited to help y'all along the way, and I'm excited to chat with everyone here today. Ooh, that
I
rhymed.
love it. Let's do it. Okay, y'all. Y'all know Ashton. Ashton been on like 3 of my lives. Go ahead, Ashton.
Hey, everybody. I just want to first and foremost say thank you for joining. Thank you for all the support. We enjoyed it before the event, just like seeing everybody comment and looking forward to joining today. Ashton McMillan, tech recruiter, been at it since like 2019. I also stumbled into it, transitioned out of retail management into tech recruiting for like an IT agency, transitioned into high volume healthcare, and then now on more of the corporate internal side, specifically within software engineering and product management. really enjoy what I do and really enjoy taking that customer service aspect and applying it to creating the utmost greatest candidate experience that I can. Love to see everybody win. I too also, share different motivational tips and things like that. So I hope you guys are, like somebody else said, prepared to have a notebook full and really just soak in all this knowledge from all of these wonderful, great people on here today. And shout out to the recruiter cousin once again for bringing us all together for a smash event. Let's do it.
Of course, let's do it. Go ahead, Josh.
What up, y'all? My name is Josh Santos. I am a tech recruiter, been in recruiting since 2017. I too also pivoted into the tech space from the financial industry and then had the unfortunate occurrence of pivoting out of tech when the pandemic hit and, working my way back into it. So definitely, if you have a conversation with me, there's going to be positive vibes. I'm going to give a real answer, give the utmost truth of what I've dealt with through my experience. I just hope that it'll create some value. I also like to start with gratitude. So thank you everyone for just showing up and taking time out of your day. Thank you for Chenae and everybody here, because I think this is going to be an amazing event.
I love it. Thank you. Erica, the Resume Bay.
Hey guys, it's me, the Resume Bay, founder of Resume Bay University. I'm glad to be here to help anybody with questions about formatting, dialogue, DMs, anything regards to resumes, cover letters, how to take you down from 5 pages to 2 pages. So if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'm glad to be here.
Love it. Susan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan. It's a pleasure being here, and I'm excited being here. Thank you, Chenae, for organizing this. It's amazing to be able to speak to everybody over here. I got into recruiting in 2013, I believe. I've been in recruiting. I've worked in so many different industries, space and defense, healthcare, retail, and now tech. I enjoy doing this. And like Chenae said, I didn't start out to be a recruiter. It was a debate between going into nursing and getting a degree in human resources. And I decided to go the human resources route. And it's paid off. I love what I do. I love to interact. I love to help people, but I didn't want to do it the healthcare way, if you get what I mean. But so I decided to go the other way. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to share as much as I can with everybody. Thank you.
Of course. Bobby.
All right, what's up, everybody? Just want to first just say thank you for everybody who attended this event today. We're very happy to have you. Shout out to Chenae once again to kind of reiterate what Ashton mentioned, just for putting all this together and just doing this for the community and for the people. So definitely appreciate it. My name is Bobby. I'm known on LinkedIn as Bobby the Builder. I'm here to help you build the career that you want and desire. Just like Chenae mentioned, I've been in talent acquisition and tech recruiting for 14 years. So over that span of time, I've looked at resumes every day for 14 years. Been a lot of debrief sessions, countless debrief sessions, interview debrief sessions, countless number of those as well, and countless interviews. So I got a keen insight on what makes candidates be successful, and also have a keen insight on what keeps candidates back. So I'm happy to be here. Again, senior tech recruiter. I'm based here in Raleigh, North Carolina. So happy to have you all here.
Love it. And last but certainly not least, Mr.
Hey everyone, my name is Fanon. I'm coming to you by way of Chicago. So happy to be here. So fortunate, really. I may be self-proclaimed everyone's favorite introvert because honestly, I didn't see myself here today, say a couple months ago even, but definitely put my pride to the side and my introvertness to the side, reached out to the lovely Chenae and the rest of these folks. It has been history in the making. Really great people to be around. Everyone is very thorough, very genuine. So it's just great to kind of see that across the board. A lot of the information that we're going to share with you today is information and resources and things we personally use. And I think that's what I love the most about this core group here. So I'm very excited, fortunate. And as far as my background, I kind of fell into it by accident as well. I was going for a marketing role. Didn't get that role, unfortunately, but someone reached out later on. Hey, we have a great opportunity. Are you interested? Fresh out of college, heck yeah, need to get things going, and it's been great ever since. I've truly gained a great passion for it, helping others, making their day, making their week, impacting their family lives in a positive way. I can't even put into words how that feels. And sort of pivot into tech a little bit, and then sort of pivoted back into talent as well. So I know a little bit about that as well. But thank you, everyone. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Okay, so let's get into these questions real quick. Neka, welcome back. So let's get into the questions real quick. So I'm going to start with Joy and Ashton. So you all are welcome to decide who's going to go first. I have extensive retail experience. How would I put that or word it on my resume? I feel like the reason I have not been able to get any interviews is because I do not have any business-to-business sales experience.
Take it away, Joy.
Okay, here we go. So this is what I'll say. Business to business sales requires excellent communication skills, being consultative, and most importantly, being able to negotiate and close. So these definitely are skills that are required in a retail setting too. So these characteristics can be highlighted on a B2B focused resume. In some retail environments, cold calling or cold emailing, or sometimes warm calling, warm emailing, it's a part of the job. I know I receive calls and emails from sales associates to inform me of promotional events and early access sales that are happening. So I would recommend emphasizing also computer literacy, even though I know mostly everyone's computer literate, but still in B2B sales, that's required, working with multiple tools, usually a CRM and things like that. And I would say once you get your resume together, start targeting industries and companies that typically hire entry-level salespeople or entry-level B2B salespeople with retail experience. Telecommunications is a good industry, Spectrum, Comcast, staffing agencies, human resource services like ADP or Paychex, and facilities or hospitality services like Airmark or Cintas.
Awesome. I love it. I'll just piggyback off of that and say, I love everything you said as far as, those transferable skills, right, that are in retail that will transfer really into any sales position. The one thing that I love about retail management is that it gave me a backbone. I was working at a paint store dealing with people who own their own business. And when they said they wanted their paint, they wanted it now, and they didn't care what you had to say about it. And so it gave me a backbone. So you talk about, cold calling, different things like that. But I think the key piece that everybody should add on their resume, but specifically when it comes down to sales, because I personally believe that every position that you have has some type of sales aspect to it. And when I say that, I mean, every role has goals, and those goals are usually tied to metrics. If it's one thing that a sales manager knows how to read, it is metrics. So how did you affect that bottom line? How did you help your store grow from, this year to this year? What were those goals and how did you meet it? And what were the specific things that you did and what you owned? It's wonderful to tell a beautiful story about, hey, we did this and my team did this, but what did you do specifically to impact the business is how you communicate that on a resume to catch a sales manager's eye, right? And like I said, every position has some sales aspect to it. So focus on those numbers, the metrics, the calls that you had to make, how you helped the store grow, and really how you impacted that bottom line. Because if you did it for one organization, being able to do it for another makes it that much easier. So that's what I would add to what Joy had to say.
That's great, Ashton. Yeah, I just want to say I used to work in retail, and when I worked in environments that had a draw against commission, I was always the top salesperson. So anyone, like you said, Ashton, that is so on point. They definitely should emphasize that.
I love that. Thank you. I want to come up with a follow-up question, and this is for anybody on the panel can answer. When we think about talking about sales or talking about engineers or talking about PMs, for example, what kind of advice would you give someone who is entry level and who is trying to absolutely stand out in a pool in a sea of people who are also entry level, and they may be one of thousands of people? How do you kind of bridge that gap and be able to get over that hump? And that's for anybody to answer.
Yeah, so I would say specifically because you brought up, PMs, which is pretty similar to like, product or program manager. It is difficult, but the people who I've seen it do it successfully. Like I know somebody who went from not really having any project management experience at all, and now she's a senior Scrum Master. She just passed her PMP exam, and she works for a really huge grocery company here in the United States. And one thing that I would say is to make that transition easier is if you can become an apprentice or an understudy, if you will, of someone who's in that department, because there's probably projects happening and going on all the time. So if you tap, your direct supervisor and you're like, hey, this is the type of work that, I'm actually interested in, and would love to even just be a fly on the wall, if you will, to gain some of those skills and know like what tools and resources they work with, being able to speak to those people who work within those projects in those spaces, then it will be easier to communicate that in an interview, right? And when you're interviewing, it's almost like, and I don't know where this example is coming from, but growing up in church, I used to be in plays a lot. And one thing they used to tell us is the only way the audience knows you messed up is if you let them know you messed up, because they don't know the script, they don't know the lines, they just know it's Easter, you know, Jesus on the cross, he went to the grave, he rose, right? So as long as the message gets across, then you're good. And so what I'm saying is, in an interview, you just have to be able to articulate what it is you're going to be doing in that role. But it's hard if you don't have some type of, internship level or entry level experience coming into that interview, because you'll just be talking aloof, if you will, and like the interviewer will be able to pick up on that right away. So tapping, the people that you're currently working with and trying to, gain that experience prior to applying to other positions. In the event you present that to your direct supervisor and they decide to, shut it down or not give you that experience, that probably gives you another inkling, information of what you need to do. But that's what I would have to say about that to have not the exact experience, but something that is as similar or as close as you can to that. And that way you can articulate that and communicate that very well and fluently in an interview, and actually sound like you know what it is that you're talking about.
I would say I actually did it myself. I used to be an assistant at a real estate company back in 2014. And I went from being an assistant to being a senior project manager at my second to last job. And my progression was not easy, but a lot of things that helped me was I was the youngest person there. Instagram and Twitter were the hot new social medias. So I brought a lot of millennial type of vibes there. And we were going through a transition where we were moving. We needed a new site. We needed new branding for our company. They weren't online on any social medias. They didn't have a website. They were very old school mom and pop type of real estate type of company where they were handing out business cards and very in person. And when I came on, me being their assistant, I helped them rebrand into finding a location, understanding what it takes to actually build a business, doing contracts, doing budgeting. So everything that I was doing as a regular assistant helped me progress to kind of jump in on certain calls and meetings, things that I could do without breaking any privacy or contract rules or anything like that, allowed me to end up being a project manager for the real estate company. So when we moved, I was like, I was in charge of, we need a water fountain, we need open floor plan, we need a waiting room, we need yellow chairs versus blue chairs, like down to like the nitty gritty. And then that helped me transition over into being a contract project manager for UPS. Like just building those skills, and the title will change because I went from being a senior project manager to just a regular project manager, because every PM role is going to require something different. But besides that, it still allowed me to do my transition all from being an assistant and taking chances when I could to actually understand what a project manager did. Now I know now compared to like 2014 to 2017, there's a lot of requirements are there with the PMP. You do have to do I think there's like the 1600 hours before you can even take the test. And now you do have to have like a bachelor's degree. So there are stipulations to actually being entry level, but there are still companies that will, if you do project coordinator versus just jumping into a PM role, you can still get that same experience, which allowed me to do it. So I feel like if I can do it, y'all can do it too, and be able to succeed and end up being, you know, a SPM soon too.
I love that. Thank you. So I want to stay on the subject because Joy mentioned it. She mentioned cold calling and warm calling and all of that. I want to go to. Sorry, I lost my place. I want to go to Josh and NECA for a second. The question is, what is the best way to answer? Can you tell me about your experience with cold calling when you don't have that experience?
Yeah, I can jump in real quick. So I think that when it comes to any specific experience, and if it's they're asking within an interview process, first and foremost, you got to be honest. So if you don't have that experience in there, don't try to fake it until you make it, because people who are actually doing that skill will fish it right out. So, definitely don't lie about it and say, hey, yeah, I've been doing it for years, if you haven't, because there are certain techniques and stuff that you can do and do. And I in my financial industry experience, I used to have to do cold calling all the time. So I think the way to kind of go about it is just concentrate on what you can do and not what you can't do. Think about those transferable skills and say, hey, just like Joy was saying earlier, I have great customer service skills. I'm confident. I am an easy learner. If I don't know something, I will figure it out, and maybe even throw it back at them. Be like, hey, well, I know there may or may not be people on your team that may have this skill set. How do you go about people who don't quite have this in their toolkit? Because then you can also learn and really know that, like, hey, are they going to prepare me for success? And like some of the little things where a lot of times in the interview process, we are trying to please and say, hey, like, I want to make myself look as best for you, but really go full circle and say, well, wait a minute, what do you have in place for somebody who would like to build this? So that's my take on it.
Great answer. And I'm going to jump off of what you're saying with transferable skills. So think about the times whenever you've had to like really get interest and really find stakeholders to like buy into your projects. Maybe you were trying to plan a program for your organization for the students, or if you're coming from like any place where you're having to get things together. Maybe you're even putting a panel together. You're on a board for just doing things in your community, and you're having to get people to come together and at least like have those different stakeholders join in. That's an element of project management. And I dropped a link in the chat of where I did my project management fundamentals course. Once you have an understanding of like the terminology and what what the project management field looks like, then it's really easier to understand how you've already done that, like Josh was saying, and talking about in your interviews what you've done in the past. One thing that I know I talked about was like when I was an academic advisor, I was planning after hours advising, and I had to get buy-in from the student dorms and all of the people that were planning that and running that, and get the approval from my office to change my hours up during the week so that we can be more in front of the students. So really just having an understanding of how you can show why you're doing something and leverage that will really help stand out, and at least not give the impression that you've already done it, but show, like I said, how you've done that in the past in different ways.
I love that, Becca. Thank you. Josh, I don't know if you can see it, but Malay and Brandon are messing with you in the chat, by the way. I don't know if you can see it. So I wanna stay on this topic. I love because it sounds like we're talking about networking. We're talking about how to stand out, right? We're talking about transferable skills. I want to shift to Bobby, and then I'm going to go to Phenom real quick. So Bobby, Any advice on networking, generating referrals without coming across as being manipulative or taking from that specific contact?
Yeah, sure. So, one of the things that I learned throughout my career about networking in general and is networking in a lot of ways is a value exchange, right? A lot of times people go into their network or they go into a networking event or they go into their community and they think oftentimes about what people are going to do for them, right? But when you go into the network, you got to also think about as well, like, how can I help other people, right? They're there obviously because they're looking for something too. They're looking for a resource, they're looking for a contact, they're looking for a connection, right? So it's just important to just understand that networking is really, yeah, you want to definitely go into situations and environments where you're looking to have a need met, but also like think about like, how can I pour into my community? How can I make somebody else's situation better, right? You might not be able to be that point of contact for that person to help them with something, but you may know somebody who may be able to help them, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. Networking is a value exchange. It's a game of deposits and withdrawals. And you're going to have to pour.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're going to have to pour into people just like you want people to pour into you. So that's just something to think about also.
I love that networking is a value exchange, because I get a lot of people come into my DM and sometimes they get a little scared to ask for what they need, because they feel like I'm only coming to you because I need something. Technically, because if we on LinkedIn, honestly, I want you to need something so we can get to the point and then we can move on. So that's just a real quick tidbit. It is totally fine to be like, hey, I need something from you. Just make sure you greet the recruiter before you do that. Just FYI. So Fanon, I want to shift to you for a second. Also, if you lack experience getting into a new career field, once you have a job offer, should you negotiate your salary or just accept the offer because you lack the experience? That's a good question.
That's a good question. And my apologies, my kids are back here kind of cutting up, so I may have to mute it here and there.
Kids don't care.
But short answer to that, I would say yes, absolutely, always negotiate. Long answer is, but be prepared to kind of say why you feel that you deserve more money. Always have a plan in place where you can kind of go about that and explain. There was a couple mentions earlier about transferable skills. So you kind of rely on those things, but also negotiating for more doesn't necessarily always have to be about money. For example, my recent role was remote. My more current role is now hybrid. So say, for example, if they're asking me to come in 4 days a week, for example, my negotiation piece may be, hey, I have a family, I have X, Y, and Z, and also with that, I'm bringing these things along as well. Can we work on maybe 2 days a week or 3 days a week? So it's kind of looking at it out, from outside the box in a different way, that it doesn't necessarily have to be about money, but you look at different ways that you can kind of tweak things, because there right now, at least with this market, there may be some compromise. You don't have to take anything that you feel is way below what you were expecting or is a slap in the face, but at the same time, you kind of have to be aware of different things to kind of win that small battle, that daily battle that I have versus the war, and eventually you'll get where you're going. As long as you have the bigger picture in mind and you know where you're going, the rest of it doesn't really matter unless it's just completely to the left of what you were expecting. But I would also say, in my opinion, success is not linear, right? It's not a straight line. It goes in zigzags, crisscrosses, and everything. But also success leaves, in my opinion, breadcrumbs. And what I mean by that is we're all on LinkedIn. We all can find someone who has been in the position that we're in today and potentially has moved to a position that we want tomorrow. So it'll be up to you to do that homework to find that particular person who may have that role that you have currently. And now you're like, oh, that's interesting. They're actually in that PM role that I want as well. And at that point, you may want to reach out and, drop a line or two and just pick their brain about it. The way I would personally go about it, especially today, is I feel that LinkedIn is that digital water cooler right now. So I would, like and engage their content, especially if they're active. That way you're kind of top of mind and you're not just coming out of left field, just saying, hey, pick me. Can you got 5 minutes, you got 15 minutes, because we don't know what's going on with these folks. But if you are engaging with them daily, at least, becoming more familiar, they're more likely to be receptive to what you have to ask. And maybe it's not, hey, only do you have 15 minutes for coffee or tea? But it's also, hey, if that doesn't work for you, do you mind if I drop 2 to 3 questions right here that you can answer if that's more convenient? That way you kind of give them an out as well. If they don't want to meet up with you, they don't feel obligated. If that's the case, not always the case, but you kind of give them that out where there's, oh yeah, I can answer these questions really quickly right here. And you still get at least something that you came there for versus a non-response. Hope that helps.
Yeah, that's great. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I think the talk about negotiation, it's definitely different from who you are as a person, and that's introvert, extrovert, but also culturally, because there's a lot of cultures that just don't feel they feel good to be at the table, and they don't cut where their spot is at the table isn't quite where their value is monetarily or within the offer. So I feel like that information is where you should focus. You should try to drive that conversation as much as possible. You should be in control of the research and everything that's been that you can control prior to that offer conversation, so you know what's your bottom line and what you don't want to actually deal with, because then you can really bring in that negotiation aspect of it, which that's going to depend on your relationship with the recruiter. What value, some stuff that you don't know about, like the feedback and all that other information. There's a lot of things that go into that conversation. But if you can actually have that point that you is your absolute bottom line, and that you are willing to say yes above this and no below this, that may not be the right opportunity for you. And it is hard in this current environment, because opportunities are hard to come by. So that's something that we have to do as candidates, is take that into consideration. If this is also going to be a vehicle to your next opportunity, or what that bigger picture is going to be. But I would always say negotiate, because if you don't, then you're potentially leaving money on the line, and you don't know until you know whether or not they're going to say no.
Love that. Go ahead, Susan.
So I just wanted to add a few examples to the examples Fanon gave. So there's so many other areas you can look to negotiate besides the money. 401k match is an area you can look at. Stock purchases, stock prices, it's an area you can leverage. Sign-on bonuses is another area you can leverage. Relocation, packages, and even paid time off. You can negotiate extra paid time off, especially for the companies that do not have unlimited paid time off. You can negotiate and get more days specifically for you. I have seen it done before. So there's so many different areas you can look at leveraging besides just the pay. But to everybody, whatever is important to you, your values, what you're looking for at that particular point in time in your life, pick one of those options, pick two of those, and use that as leverage in your negotiation.
Thank you. Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah. So another thing as well is that a lot of times hiring managers and even recruiters, they expect you to negotiate.
Mm-hmm.
They'll put a number out there, but they expect you to come back and say something, right? So a lot of times when I talk to people, I talk to candidates, they think that if they attempt to negotiate, then that's going to be a negative effect on them getting role. It's not. They're expecting you to negotiate, right? So kind of keep that in mind. Second thing is that know what you got to have some sort of number in mind. You got to know your money, but you got to kind of know their money too. So when I mean know your money, you got to know what you're going to say no to. You got to know the number that I'll think about it, and then you got to know the number you're going to say yes to. Okay. So kind of keep that in mind. But then also what I mean when I say you got to know their money, you got to ask questions to them, especially for your recruiter, so you can have some sort of knowledge first before you go to the negotiating table. You got to know, okay, how much does base salary pay into the overall total comp? So this base salary, a lot of times companies give out sign-on bonuses. Is that sign-on bonus paid out over time, or is it going to be paid out after 30 days? These are questions you got to know, right? If they have some sort of investment in stock, okay, what does that look like? Like, ask those key questions and get information. A lot of times I see people, they don't get information and then they're going to negotiate and things can kind of go sideways. So get information first. Know about your money and know about their money. Susan just mentioned a great point, 401k. If think about like if you're looking to go back and get some certifications or some advanced education, ask about tuition assistance. Like, but mainly just find out definitely about the base salary, if they have any stocks that they'll pay out to you, stock payments, and also bonus, and what that looks like and how it's going to be structured and how it's broken out. Because some of that money will be up front, some of that money will be over time, but you got to know that so you can come to the negotiation table informed and with a strategy.
I love that. And I want to also reiterate what Josh said, because Josh, you got some kudos about mentioning the difference in culture. It's interesting because Josh and I are actually colleagues, and our colleagues are in the chat, so, which is really cool. But I also, just having experience in higher education, healthcare, and down tech, I have absolutely seen the difference in the expectation based on the culture that I'm talking to. And so I 100% encourage people to have a range, have a number you will absolutely not go under, and have a number, your highest number should actually be your expectation. But literally have that range so that you understand, I have this range, but there is a number that I will not go under. And if they go under that number, you have to then make a very informed decision. Go ahead, Joy.
I was just going to say, one thing I've noticed as a recruiter over the years, women do not negotiate as much as they should. And then from a cultural standpoint, people from underrepresented backgrounds sometimes don't negotiate as much as they should. Sometimes it's that mentality. Some were raised to think, be grateful, be happy.
Yep.
The fact that you're in this space, you should be happy with what you're getting. But like someone mentioned earlier, I think it was Bobby or Josh, you're leaving money on the table. So I want women, especially Black, Indigenous women of color, to negotiate and get their money. So I just had to add that.
Yeah, and I want to add really quickly as well. Typically, in my experience,
Fanon, can we just say that we all agree that your kids are having the time of their lives? Just FYI.
Oh, you can. Okay, so you can tell I was very distracted for a second.
No, but we love it. We feel like they having more fun than we are. Go ahead.
I just bought them like a rocket ship type of in-house playhouse type of, so they're just having a ball outside. So, but I wanted to leave as well. Typically, when you make it to the point of getting an offer, as a recruiter, everyone else can chime in or tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm rooting for you. I want you to accept. And if you come back and say, hey, I was actually expecting $5,000 more, I'm going to go to the hiring manager to represent you. I'm more like, hey, but I take it a step further. If anyone has interacted with me, typically I'm laying it out at the very beginning. I want to be as transparent as possible when it comes to salary, your expectations. I'm trying to get a 99 or 100% offer rate accepted. That's me personally. But I know with other recruiters, it may not be the same case. You may be left in the dark here or there. Before I got this role, I was interviewing and I asked about money. I even kind of seen it in that person's eyes a little bit. I kind of tried to make it soft, like, hey, I know it's taboo to talk about this, try to ease into it. And she was like, oh, no, yeah, we will have to see it down the road with all of this. I'm just like, why? Like, we're talking about the role itself, what it entails, what you're expecting me, what I'm expecting from you. Why can't we talk about this right now? That's my personal opinion. And that's the way I lead it when I'm talking to candidates. I want to be as transparent upfront so you're not blindsided by anything. And I'll ask during that call, what's the minimum you're willing to accept in order to move forward in this process? That way you're literally not blindsided. We know expectations right off the bat, and I'm giving that right to the hiring manager. Anything below that, we're not reaching out because I don't want that person to feel a certain way about me, about the organization, because I'm a representation, about recruiters in general. So that's my last little piece. Sorry.
Go ahead, Nneka.
Yeah, I just wanted to last bit about this, I guess, but what Fanon and what Bobby were saying, I just want to echo because I recruit recruiters. I recruit the closers, the client leads, and I make sure that they have that negotiating skill. They're trained for that. They're looking for that. What Fanon was saying right now, that is what they're there for. They want to negotiate with you. So be prepared to negotiate because they want to do that with you, and it's expected, and they're prepared to do it and go up to bat for you, like Fanon just said. So definitely negotiate for yourself, advocate for yourself, because we're prepared to advocate for you as well.
And remember, y'all, the recruiter is about the candidate experience, right? The candidate experience is we're not trying to lowball you. It's not coming out of our pockets. So we're not trying to lowball you in any way, shape, or form. We want to make sure we provide the best experience that you absolutely have that's possible. And you also, I've said this countless times, y'all have to make sure that the recruiter is your best friend throughout this process. We completely understand that we're not friends in real life, and it's completely fine if you move on and never talk to us again. Trust me, we will not take it personal because we got the hire, so we will not take it personal. But in that time and in that process of getting to the interview, and then now we're salary negotiation, when you are connected with the recruiter, make sure you're transparent with the recruiter. Make sure you tell us every single part of your worry, of whatever you have that is a concern. What is your pain point? We want to know that stuff. I always tell my candidates, if you have a compete offer, can you please tell me what that compete offer is so I can see if I can beat that compete offer? So we don't want to lowball you in any way, shape, or form. We want to make sure we give you the best experience possible. In order for us to do that, you have to learn how to trust us. But we also understand that in trusting us, you may be coming from other recruiters who you didn't have the opportunity to trust or all of that. So we may be dealing with some trauma, and we completely understand that. So we just try to provide the best space possible so that you can relax yourself when you're talking to us, and make sure that you give us enough information so that we can be your advocates in rooms where you're not able to be in. Okay, so that was a great topic, but we definitely have to move on because I want to get to the rest of these questions. So Jamila, I am now coming to you. If you lack, nope, went to that question already. Where am I? What are the best methods for interview prepping? How do you overcome your nerves when you're preparing for an interview?
Yes, that's a great question. So the best methods for interview prepping is to look at some of the top questions. You can Google it also, they're on LinkedIn, some of the top interview questions, and start rehearsing your answers using the STAR method. The STAR method is situation, task, action, and result. So that's how you want to answer these questions, because most of the time it's going to be a behavioral interview. So you want to go ahead and give your answers by telling a story in the STAR method. Aside from practicing, you also want to, if possible, do like a mock interview. Maybe practice one-on-one with a friend, a mentor, or if you don't have anyone to practice, record yourself. It's really great to see yourself on video recording, so you can look at your body motions, your body language, how you're answering and responding to the questions, and just kind of getting a feel for what you would be like, especially if it's going to be a video interview coming up. It's great to go ahead and record yourself and practice that way. And then when you want to watch your video back, watch it once with the sound on and then with the sound off, so that way you can really look at your body language. Another thing is research. You want to research the company as much as you can, get information from the company website, from other websites, do a quick Google on them, see if they've been in the news lately, maybe they have recent layoffs. You want to know this information before going into the interview. Also, you want to research on the job description. Have that down packed and in your arsenal so that you know what you're prepared for when you're going up against these questions or getting ready for the interview. And not only do you want to research the company and the job description, you want to research your interviewers. So you're going to get a name of the people that you're going to be interviewing with or who's going to be on your panel. So you can do a quick dig on them on social LinkedIn, find out their likes and interests. Maybe you'll find something that's in common that you can drop during your interview to make a common connection. I know with my last company, that really helped because we started talking about basketball for a while. We just chatted about how basketball relates to business, and then and relates to recruiting. So that was really, really helpful. And nervousness. I recommend that when you come prepared and you come rehearsed, the nerves will dissipate. Also, nerves are really, if you flip it, it's excitement. You really just want to do well on your interview. So you're really not nervous. You just want to do well. You're excited about this opportunity. And if all else fails, just take some deep breaths. If you do what they call box breathing, 4 in, hold, 4 count, and then 4 out, you'll feel much calmer afterwards. So that's kind of my put.
I love that. Before I go to Bobby, I wanted to make a point about nervousness. So I would be nervous before I became a recruiter, but at this point, I've sat in on so many different interviews that I kind of know what to say and what not to say at this point, because I actually take notes from what to do and what not to do from others. But when I was nervous, even coming into the company that I work for now, I was nervous because of the prestige of the company itself, right? And then adding the fact that, like, I don't really know who I'm gonna be working with for real. These are people that I'm going to be working with around the world, right? When I was in healthcare, I knew exactly, like, I had met those people in person. In the space that I'm in now, this is a little different because our leaders are in all kind of states and all kind of countries and all of that. So it was difficult. To be honest, how I dismantled my nervousness was I literally said to myself, so the interviewer is also a person. Literally, that's like literally I put in my head, the interviewer is also a person just like me. The interviewer was a candidate just like me. The interviewer also had to interview at some point just like me. And then I went in there hip hop. Like, I went in there literally like, so this is who I am. And I'm gonna make you laugh. And for me, that helped kind of like calm my nervousness. But I think it took their mind off of the fact that I was actually interviewing and I was just silly. But I also was able to give my skill set and be creative at the same time. So find something that takes your mind off of being nervous. And for me, that started with the interviewer is also a person just like me. The interviewer also had to be told yes or no, just like me. But I also have the power of yes and no. Just because I'm interviewing and I need them to say yes because I want this job, if I interview and I don't like this interview, I can also say, you know what? Thank you for the opportunity, but I'm going to go ahead and withdraw and I'm going to move on. I also have the power to do that as well. So understanding what your power is will also help you kind of dismantle that nervousness. Okay, Bobby, you got it.
Yeah, so I think, both Chenae and Jamila made some very excellent points. It's definitely kind of along the same breadth of where I was going. But just to kind of I'm going to touch on nervousness, then I'm going to go to preparation. I think being a little bit nervous is okay, because being a little bit nervous shows that you care. So that's number one. I think that's fine. What you don't want to be, though, is anxious, right? You don't want to be that, right? So, I mean, I played college basketball, played in big arenas.
He won the NCAA, by the way, y'all. I don't know.
It's a little trophy right there. So when you win, they give you a smaller one. They got the master trophy at the school. Then they give you a small one. They got a ball right there. Anyway, so one of the things that, I always kind of relate everything to athletics, right? So it's totally possible to be confident and nervous at the same time. 100%. Like I said, when you're a little bit of nervousness is okay, because that shows you care. But what helps minimize the nervousness is being prepared, right? The more prepared you are, the more ready you are for things that are going to come.
Yep.
It's going to help you relax a little bit. So preparedness is key, and I'll touch on that here in a second. But also, you want to, like, when I was playing sports, I had a ritual. We had things that we did before the game time. I've even had things I've done before podcasts, things I've done before speaking events. That was kind of like a routine. Everybody is a little bit different. Some people go for walks. Some people listen to their favorite playlist, right? Some people might go watch their favorite sitcom or comedy show that might make them laugh. You want to find ways to kind of just relax, right? So that's one thing. As far as preparedness, to what Jamila mentioned, what you want to do, and what I would encourage you all to do, and I've done this as a recruiter in big tech. I've done this as a recruiter in other industries. I've even done this as a manager before, hiring recruiters. See if you can get the core competencies that you're going to be interviewed for from your recruiter. Because like Chenae said, your recruiter should be an advocate, right? They should not be a gatekeeper. They should be a door opener, right? So make sure to ask them, see if they can get the competencies, right? Get the competencies. And then like Jamila said, shout out to Jamila, recruiter swag. Use the STAR method. And if you don't know what the STAR method is, it's an acronym. Situation, task, action, result. I'll even add another R and put reflection, right? So get that. And then for those competencies, come up with at least 2 examples for each competency that they're going to interview you for. Come up with at least 2. Go over them, rehearse them, remember them, right? So they're going to ask you the question in that way, but you need to be able to tell the story in that way. You got to be able to tell a story in an interview, right? You got to be able to kind of add some color and some elaboration to what they see on your resume, right? So think about that as well, and be able to tell a story in about 1 or 2 minutes, right? Because you don't want to be too long-winded, but you don't want to be too short-sighted on your answer as well. Also, it's important as well to research your interviewers if they give them to you, right? So you know who you're talking to in each segment, right? Find some commonalities. Oh, I see you're part of this association. I'm a part of this association too. Oh, I see you went to this university. I went to this university too. Oh, I saw you went to this this summit event, this tech summit last week. I was there too. What did you think about it? Right? Another thing I'm gonna say too, one last thing, and I want to, kind of monopolize time here, but also ask some questions. Like you should have a list of questions that you're gonna ask when you come into the interview, right? Because not only are they interviewing you, you're interviewing them. You're interviewing them to see if they're a good employer for you. So that right there will give you confidence right there. Like, yeah, y'all got a list of questions for me. I got a list of questions for y'all too, right? You need to be asking, key questions, right? So make sure you come up with some questions. Those are some key things to kind of prepare for. And that is it. I'll give it to somebody else.
Go ahead, Josh.
What is there left? No, I'm just kidding. No, those are all great points. I feel like with any interview prep, and I absolutely love doing interview prep with candidates, you got to bring yourself in your own way. So, like everybody's saying, do the research, do everything that, there is no luck. It's preparation meets opportunity. You got to do whatever you can to best prepare so you know and can kind of move through the interview process. One thing I always do is anybody that asks me, they're like, hey, I need a hype up, is I always send them the video of Cool Runnings. I see pride, I see power. And seriously, it's just one of those that it's truth. It gives you hyped up. Like it is everything that you need in order to do it. And people just love it. I feel like that's a way to just, you have that confidence. Now bring it. So I feel like that's a huge thing, especially when it comes to tools. The internet's a crazy place. So try to find and utilize the tools that are out there that are free for us to use. We're talking about this prep, look at AI tools, look at ChatGPT. There's free versions. Put in the job description and say, hey, what are some key questions that could prepare me just to get your head around what that interviewer could potentially ask. Get those questions. And they may be similar, they may not be, but it'll just kind of get your head around those questions. I'm going to kind of add how Bobby was saying about the core competencies. That is for any company. Most companies will put on their career websites core competencies and culture. Find those experiences when you're doing your research, when you're going through the process, to look and find 1 or 2 or 3 of those things where it's going to make sense to talk about. So what you're going to subconsciously be doing with those interviewers is say, hey, they're already thinking in the mind of XYZ company. Like I already see where their mind's at. And when you go into it, just know that companies don't want people that are perfect. They want to see that you have gone through a process, that you've succeeded, that you failed, and how those experiences we're able to mold you in who you are today and how you go and how you perceive whatever job function you're doing. The last part I'll talk about is a part that I feel like doesn't really get a lot of light, which is the storytelling. Almost every part of the interview process, whether you're having 1 interview, 4 interviews, 5 interviews, whatever amount, everybody always starts with, tell me a little bit about yourself. And this is an opportunity for you to really show what you and who you are, and not have it be of, hey, from 2007 to 2008, I did this. We want to see where the lines are in between your jobs, what you did, how you did it. And I feel like if you're able to get to point A to point B, which point A being where what you've been through, point B being where you are now, and sprinkle that sauce, sprinkle that personality, it also gives you an opportunity to control the narrative. Say there's something that happened that you want to call out, that there's a gap. This is where you can really tell about those experiences and those gaps and really control how that's going to go. And then lastly, it's going to create an awesome tone for that interview. You're going to be able to build trust, rapport, and credibility with that interviewer that hopefully takes off into the rest of the interview process.
So thank you so much for that. Susan, I'm going to come to you. When applying to jobs, who is more likely to hire someone with no tech experience? Would you say, would it be startups or big tech companies?
That's a good one. And this can go anyway. So when it comes to startups and big tech companies, they really have so many different things that they are looking out for. There may be some startups who are looking for someone who is entry level so they can groom the person into who they want the person to be for the company. And there can be some startups who want someone who is very experienced to come and implement whatever they know so that they can build on it. So this is a very dicey question, and it's not a one size fits all answer to that question. But I do know that from my experience and what I have learned gradually, there are some big tech companies and there are some great companies who are bridging that gap. When you look at yourself as an entry level person and you feel that you cannot enter into a big tech company because you are entry level, because they are looking for a certain thing. Now I see a lot of the companies doing a lot of apprenticeships, career preps. They are bringing in people who from different industries or from different areas and training them and bringing them up and grooming them into certain roles or certain positions within the company. So, like I said, it's not a one size fits all. Research companies like that, find companies that are doing these apprenticeship programs, this career prep programs, these boot camps. They are having programs that they are pulling people from the company, experienced people, and they are mentoring, they are teaching, they are pairing entry level people with experienced people for a little bit of time. So it's not very specific with regards to what the company is looking for. So like everybody has said, all my colleagues have said, research is your best bet. Research what the company stands for. Research what the company is looking for. Research people who work within the company, what their skill set is. Now on LinkedIn, a lot of people have, their all that they do, their responsibilities. They have it already listed under their profiles. So take the time, spend some time, 30 minutes, 1 hour, go through people who are already listed with the companies and check them out. Whether it's a startup or it's a big tech company, your best bet is doing your own research to figure out what the company stands for and what they are really looking for. So
I love that. Susan, I want to stick with you for a second. What is the best way to determine your transferable skills? How do you translate that on your resume?
Okay, so when it comes to transferable skills, it's different for everybody, depending on what your experience has been in the past, what your experience is right now, as well as what industry that you work in. So my first recommendation would be research. Google should be your friend. Chat GPT should be your friend, because when you go
Can I
into
add
it,
Bing in there too? Just
yes,
Bing
please.
too. Just saying.
Yes, those are your friends. Go into Google, put in the job you're looking, or the role you're looking for, put it in, find out what their responsibilities are, the common responsibilities are, the general ones, because it's not going to be specific to the company you're looking for. There are general, they're going to be general ones. So look for those ones. Go into Chat GPT, put it in. The AI will give you a lot of other options and a lot of other ideas. Put them together and take your own responsibilities, your own skill sets that you have, and leverage the skill set that you have with the ideas that you've been provided from your research. Also, like I said, for the other question, the people who do that job, if you're looking for a project management role, you go into LinkedIn, find people who are project managers, look at what they do, look at what they do on a daily basis, look at their responsibilities, look at their competencies, look at their skill set, and use that as a leverage into making your skill sets transferable, and also including it on your resume. I'll give you an example. Let's say a salesperson, you've done sales for years. You want to pivot, you want to leave the sales environment, but not use your skill set for sales, but then go into another industry. An example for a salesperson will be becoming a recruiter. The recruiting job is mostly a sales based job.
Mm-hmm.
You're selling your company to your candidate. You're selling the candidate as well to your company. So you're doing a lot of sales as a recruiter. So when you look at what you are doing as a sales representative, to bring that into recruiting, you leverage your skill sets in the sense that ask yourself these questions. How do you convince people to buy your product, to get your service? What tools are you using? What systems are you using as a salesperson? How does that transfer into recruiting? And finally, looking at metrics. For a salesperson always has goals. Recruiters have the same thing. We are we are um, oh, what's the word? Sorry. We are assessed based on our metrics. So one of the metrics I know we have is the time to fill. The time from when you open the requisition until the time the person accepts the offer. It's something that we are judged on as recruiters. So, as a salesperson, your goals, the time you were given the goals, what you did within the time you got the goals, and did you achieve your goal? Did you exceed your goal? Did you not meet your goal? Those are all metrics that you already leverage in sales that you can bring into recruiting. So those are things that are more transferable, that you can move and include on your resume. Once you're able to access all that information, assess yourself, assess the information out there, you can use your chat GPT to build out your resume. So it's not like you're just putting something onto your resume because you want to become a recruiter, but you are leveraging the skill set you already have or you've had in the past, and you're using that to build a new resume to fit a recruiter position.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Susan. Okay, go ahead, Erica. You on mute.
Susan said so much. I forgot the main question. Um but basically transferable skills, like Susan said, the main point is to cross reference what you have onto what is needed. And I like to use the 80-20 rule. I kind of made that up like the other day in a more technical stance of 80-20. You compare your resume to make sure that you bring at least 80% of what they're asking for, and let the other 20% be something that you're willing to either work on, they're willing to either train you on, so that it doesn't make or break your application process, or make or break your resume being considered for the role. So when you're thinking about transferable skills, like, everyone wants to have transferable skills, which eventually we do to some point, depending on what you're trying to pivot into. But just make sure those transferable skills, one, make sense, and two, they will benefit you to make up for any certifications, education, any work gaps that you may have, anything that you may be lacking or don't have just yet, that you're willing to work towards, whether it's another degree and it's going to take you 2 years, and obviously you don't want to wait 2 years to have a job. But just make sure that that 80% will hold enough weight for you, so that way when they see your resume and they're interviewing you and you're having these conversations, they're not even worried about the other 20%, because you're never going to be 100% across the board. So, and that's fine, but you need to have enough to bring to the table, enough transferable skills and enough knowledge to know that your transferable skills will benefit that company too. Because people, are stuck on transfer these skills, but is your transferable skills really going to help this company if you become a new employee? Like, are you going to benefit them in a way that they didn't have 6 months ago, that now they will in the next 3 months that you've been there? How will you actually bring wealth and bring a special light to the position that you're applying for and that you may get hired for with those transferable skills?
Thank you so much for that. I saw a question that came up in the chat that I thought was really important to highlight, because it goes to my next question, and I'm going to go to back to Susan and Bobby for this question. So the question in the chat was, what do you think the value of a certification is? For example, the company I'm going to work for, I have been spending time learning their systems and getting certified through them. Am I wasting my time? So that was the question in the chat. And then the question I have for you all is, are certifications good to have? Does it play a role in landing in the interview?
Yeah, Susie, you can go first.
So this is a very dicey question, because certifications, depending on what role you're looking for or where you see the trajectory of your career going, it really depends on all that. I wouldn't say to go for a certification just because this particular role is requested for it, so you go and get it. And you go get it and you don't get the job. So if it's something that you're looking at your career to grow into with that kind of certification, I would say, even with that, look for a company that would pay for that. I'll use myself as an example. I am an immigrant. I was born and raised in Ghana, in Africa. And throughout my growing up and my development, what I was told or what I was fed with was, the higher your education level, the better the roles you're going to get, the better jobs you're going to get. And I immigrated to the United States with that kind of mentality, that kind of mindset. And I got here and I realized, no, it doesn't work that way over here. And it works very well back home. When you have your master's, you have your bachelor's, you have your master's, even a PhD, it works very, very well for you. But when you get here, it's a learning curve, I would say. I don't want to condemn it totally, but I would say I've learned so much within the time frame that I've been here and I've gone to school. I came with that mentality and I enrolled, I got an MBA in human resource management. And I was like, I need an MBA. As soon as I get an MBA, I'm going to get a job. So I enroll, I start school, I'm done with school, and guess what? No job. Nobody was willing to even take a chance on me. I never got the job I thought I would get and the pay I was going to get in order to even afford my student loans. So I racked up so much student loans. I got this degree, this high degree, and nothing to show for it. So I've seen that there are a lot of companies that would pay for your education, that would pay for your certification, that would pay for your license. My advice or my recommendation would be to utilize that. Go into a company or go into a role that you know that you were going to get some reimbursement back for your certification, for your degree. Some companies will pay half of it. Some companies will pay all. Some companies will pay 75% of it. And you may be bonded with them for about 2 years, 3 years. If you're willing to be bonded to a company for that long to get your education, to get your degree, to get your certification, I would say go right ahead. Some companies or some roles also post jobs where they tell you that you can get your certification or your license within 6 months to 12 months, sometimes 3 months. So they are willing to get you the job and then, pay for you to get the certification. But if you don't have the certification already and you're trying to go into it, I would say make a list of your pros and your cons of getting that certification or getting that degree. If your cons outweigh your pros, forget about it. Find something else. If your pros outweigh your cons, then I would say go full steam into it. Apply for the job, get the certification, get everything you need to get the sort of job or sort of role you're looking for. So I hope that helps.
All right, yeah, just to kind of chime in on the certification topic. So the certifications are great because it shows that you at least took the initiative to get some knowledge about something, like a core competency, right? Oftentimes what I see with certifications is that this doesn't apply to everybody, but it applies to enough people that I've seen throughout my career to say this. A lot of times people aren't strategic about the certifications that they're getting, right? So the value in the certification comes with one, starting to become a subject matter expert in something, right? But the true value in the certification comes when you apply the theory of what you got from the certification, right? So like there's the education, the degrees, the certification, basically what that shows an employer, what that shows a hiring manager is that you have a sound understanding of the theory of it. What makes it more valuable is then when you take that theory and you apply it, right? So that's the value that comes into it. And just in being strategic about the type of certifications you're going to get is important too, and kind of having a plan for that. Like there's certain certifications in my industry I'm not going to get, and I'm not going to get them because that's not the focus. That's not the area where I want to go, right? So making sure that when you get the certification, you have a plan for, okay, these are the type of certifications I'm gonna get. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to chart this path. But along the way, getting the certification. If now there are certifications that you take an assessment, you get the certification. That's great. But the best certifications, in my opinion, are those that you have to apply the theory over a certain amount of time and develop that skill in result of getting it, right? So that's really where the true value comes in, is when it's strategically aligned to what your career objectives are. Because a lot of people go get certifications, they're getting certifications over here, but their career is going this way. So long as they're aligned long term, short and long term, with what you're trying to do, I'll just go ahead and tell everybody right now, I'm working on my AWS cloud practitioner. I'm going to get a PMP certification one day, and I'm going to get a diversity, equity, inclusion certification one day. Why? Because that's where my career is going long term. I'm not going to get an SPHR. I can, get knowledge of that, just newsletters, going to conferences, etc. But I don't need to get a certification in that, because I'm not going to do back end HR. I'm going to be dealing with the people. So that's just a personal example I can give anybody, somebody who had that question in the audience. Make sure your certifications are going align with where you're going to go. Those certifications are going to have value, because they're going to help me get to where I want to get long term. And throughout that time, I'm going to then apply the theory. I know I got the theory and the education from getting it, but now I'm going to go apply what I learned from those certifications. I'm going to go run some projects. I'm already running projects, but now I'm going to really run some projects, and I'm going to put that certification to use. I'm going to do some diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives. I'm doing those now, but I'm going to put that in use. So certifications are valuable as long as they're strategically aligned with your career objectives, and as long as in some way, shape, or form, you're applying the theory and the knowledge of what you learned to use certification and turning it into a skill or a subject matter expertise that can take you long term.
Thank you so much for that. So I am going to end this with, I'm going to combine two questions in one, because I do think that it's important to answer both of these questions. I want to make sure we touch it. So this will be the last question, and I will let everybody have their evening. So the question is, what is the best method to search for jobs? And then the second question is, as in, how do you essentially network, or what's the best way to network as an introvert? I am not an introvert, so I cannot answer that question. But in terms of the job method search, this is the advice, free advice that I normally give out in my coffee chats, but free advice to all of you. Here's what I tell everybody to do. For strategy purposes, right? Because everybody is like literally like everybody's in a sea, and everybody just jumping out trying to figure out what companies that they should apply to and just hopping on that, right? That will bring you so much anxiety and so much like feeling like you're failing fast that you won't even know what to do. So here's this job search strategy that I give to everyone. Find a very big parent company, right? No matter what the company is, research a really big parent company. Stay within that parent company and research some of the roles that fit your skill set based on what you want to apply to, what you want to do. You then take that parent company and research their subsidiaries or their child companies. And then you also find roles that fit your skill set within those subsidiaries or child companies. Never stray away from the parent company, but you want to also start researching all of the subsidiaries that fall under that. You then take what I call cousin companies, which are partnerships, right? So you're reaching out, which are partnerships of those child companies or subsidiaries, because a lot of those subsidiaries have partnerships too. You take those partnerships and you also research some of the jobs that may be available based on your skill set, and then continue to trickle down from here. I am not a person that started from the bottom that we're here. We're going to start from the top and work our way down. So that's what I tell everybody to do. Find a very big parent company and then find all the companies that fall under that parent company, but continue to apply to that parent company as well. In addition to that, once you do that for one industry, do the same thing from another industry. Find another parent company and then start your search all the way over. What that will do is that will give you a wide range of positions and companies that you can possibly apply to get multiple screenings and then hopefully interviews and ultimately offers at the same time. If you're in an ideal place of you have now gotten all of those offers and screenings all at the same time, you are now in an ideal place where you can start using offers that you really don't want to leverage the offer that you actually really do want. So that's the strategy that I give to everybody. I just gave that to 200 plus people. So please use that and hopefully that works for you. Okay, Neka, go ahead.
Okay, my job search strategy that I realize has been really helpful. I share a bunch of different jobs on my LinkedIn, and the way I even start looking for them is I sit in my office and I look around and I'm like, okay, Intel, y'all hiring? Let me go to Intel and see if they're hiring. HP, Bath and Body Works, I have some hand sanitizer. I have some Funko Pops. Funko hires. They have different companies or different positions within all of those companies that might need a recruiter, a software developer, someone that does marketing. They might need it. So check it out. So that's where I start, and I just go from there. Like there's Sharpie, there's just so many different companies just sitting around you. If you're just scrolling, sitting on your couch, look at your TV, your speaker, where you got your couch from. They might be hiring. So that's where I usually start with looking for jobs that I share on LinkedIn on the regular. So there's that. And then I come off as an extrovert, but I am definitely introverted, and I have to hype myself up to get into extroverted spaces. Like whenever we started this call, y'all, I was shaking, and then everything that could have gone bad did. Like I got dropped from the call, couldn't hear anyone really. So once I got back, I was like, nothing else. What worse could happen? So I'm just happy that I put myself in that space. So that's my first piece of advice for introverts. Like, put yourself in the spaces. Put yourself in the space. Even if you go and you are a wallflower, there's going to be another wallflower there. Talk to them. Another piece of advice for networking as an introvert, remove the barrier of like not knowing what to talk about whenever you get into those spaces, and go into spaces where there's already a common interest. Maybe I like to do Pilates, and there's people in my Pilates class. I don't know what they do, but why are you here at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday? Let me see what y'all are up to in the rest of the hours of the day, So if y'all already have something to talk about, like a common sport, or if you're a book club person, or wherever you already go, see what those people that are also there are into, and that's a networking opportunity wherever you regularly are. And if you're not regularly in places, I know a lot of us are remote workers, try and find those spaces to be in. If you go and work out, or go and get coffee sometimes, or the places that you go and work during the day, see what those people are doing as well. Every opportunity that you leave your house is a networking opportunity. So I encourage you to leave your house.
I can go. I think both of you, Neka and Chenae, had great intel on, going for businesses or how to apply. So I'm not going to touch that too much. I think, and also Neka, that's really cool the way you kind of go about sharing companies, because it resonated with me with 50 Cent. That's the way that he kind of invests his money, is what he said. Like, for example, vitamin water, he was just drinking it one day and was like, oh, let me invest in this company. You got 200 million. So we need to connect after this as well, maybe do some investing. But anyways, as far as being an introvert, I piggyback on what you said. Is pretty much putting yourself out there. This point in my life, I'm all about whatever I'm afraid of, whatever I fear, whatever I have hesitancies, I'm just going to attack it. I'm just going to go for it. And I don't care who's in my way, what's in my way. I'm just going to go for it. And even before this meeting, I think the invite list got up to like 700, 800. I was literally the meme of the woman with the church hat just fainting, like, what did I sign up for? But, I had to, again, psych myself up for it and say, hey, it's bigger than me. Even though I'm introverted, what leads, in the forefront for me is helping others. I genuinely have passion for others, being selfless, and I love surrounding myself with like-minded people. So I couldn't let them down. And I share with them also, I wasn't feeling well. I was a little under the weather, but I had to be here, had to be, accounted for, and had to, give my genuine input as well. And I was also like to add to the introvertness. So this month, being the opportunity to be here, as I mentioned before, I challenged myself to post more on LinkedIn at least 3 times a week, I believe, and even joining this meeting. Those 3 examples, I'm so fortunate, and I'm happy that I actually took that on, because I feel like I'm a better person today because of those experiences. As far as events, so this is a digital event, something that I would have done. So as you know, as I just mentioned, there's a list of people who are attendees. So I would research some of those folks. Maybe you're looking at every 20 people or so. You're not looking at the full 700 or whatever, but you're getting a general idea of who they are and what their interests are, and you're finding those commonalities. Because I found when you have a goal, most people, when you hear goal, you just think of a list. But me personally, when I hit a word goal, I think of a mental map of where I'm trying to go, and I apply that to everything. So I have that major goal piece up top. Okay, go to the event. And then below that, okay, I need, out of these 20 people I just found here, I need to at least reach out to 15 of them. Of those 15, I want to exchange business information. Of the 15, maybe it was 12. Of those 12, I want to do X, Y, and Z, and just kind of go from there and hit each of those each of those goals down. And that way, it's less of a burden when I come into these situations with other. I actually have a roadmap and a plan laid out, and I get to apply that to everything I do. And it just makes it a little bit easier to kind of maintain, because being an introvert, sometimes it can be overwhelming. You may feel sensory overload and just all these different things going on. But I promise you, just putting yourself out there, you will love it at the end. When it's all said and done, and you get to look back on these experiences, you will love your past self for that.
All right, so the places that I go to find jobs, I say let the jobs come to you. So if you join, a lot of companies have talent communities that you can join their email list, and then they will actually message you when jobs become available. Also, LinkedIn, you can set the alerts where you get messages when jobs are available. And then I also use Indeed. Indeed's a really great place to locate jobs as well. As far as being an introvert, I'm an extroverted introvert. So I like to say that far as the best thing to do is maybe virtual networking first, because you might not want to connect with people in person yet. But LinkedIn is a great tool where, maybe you are scared to share a post. You don't think your content's ready, but you can follow some great content leaders on here. That's actually how I got connected with Chenae. When I was pivoting into tech and wanting to be a recruiter, I started following her and just liking her stuff. And then, like, hitting the bell. So I get the alerts when she posts, liking it. And then I'm pretty sure she started seeing me comment on her stuff, like her stuff. So she started getting to know my name a little bit. Then when you reach out, you're not a stranger anymore because they see that you showed up daily. So you can do that with anybody you want to get in touch with, from a CEO of a company to someone that's at an entry level position. Anyone you can reach out to. And that's the beauty of LinkedIn. You can go to the company page and connect with people and break it down on how you want to reach out to people. And I do that. I just did that recently about something I'm applying to. Reached out to someone to get some feedback on what their time was at the company. So definitely virtual networking. Um, Reach out. Once you follow them for a while, don't be afraid to shoot your shot, because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So shoot your shot.
Yes, Demila has some great gems there for sure. My job searching tool that I use for that I use myself, and that I'm actually trying to get other clients to understand as well, is when you're driving. I know usually a lot of people, especially I drive by myself. I drive from Richmond back to South Jersey every week. So when I'm driving every Sunday, I'm like, if I was to go back into this 9 to 5 world, where would my next move be? I look at truck drivers. I look at the trucks that's driving right next to me. I look at the companies that are hiring, which is how I got my second to last job at NFI, where I was like, oh, I see. And they were in Camden in South Jersey, where I was located at. I was like, dang, like, okay. And granted, it may not always be that easy, but you literally never know. Like, so just thinking outside the box is something. And I feel like as an introvert, sometimes that's like, that is like a perk of ours to kind of think outside the box on our own time. So with me being an introvert, that was my way of, okay, this is how I can put myself out there without having to put myself out there. But at the same time, being an introvert will only get you so far. So like Jamila is that introvert, extrovert, extrovert, introvert, however word placement you want to use, you have to understand being an introvert or being concluded in your own little bubble will only get you so far. And if you no longer want to be in that space, because people aren't going to always come directly to you, especially if you're not putting yourself out there to know, why should they magnetize themselves to you. So you have to kind of put yourself out there some way, somehow, be noticed, and use LinkedIn as the original platform that is used for to link in with people. Just saying hi. You don't have to like bombard their messages with a whole book that say, hi, my name is Erica, I saw you 3 years ago, did it. Like, you don't want to talk their face off, because I know I don't want to sit here and look at 150 word essay DM. I just want to know, like, hey, like, if you want to talk to me, because whether before I did resumes or talk to me about resumes, then just get to the point of just having like regular conversation. Just don't feel like you always have to make a book every DM. Like, definitely just have conversation, be friendly. Like, I 3 months ago, I didn't know any of these people, but I've casually introduced myself. Me and NECA have talked in DM. Me and Bobby, I just said hi to Bobby the other day. He probably was like, what the heck? But I said hi just because it was like, why not? Like, like, we're in this space. We want to get to know each other. You really never know when you're going to need someone also, or when they will need you. So you don't want to ever have that wall up where you may not come off friendly, or they may not come off friendly to you. So you just want to have just that casual, like, hey, are you busy? Or, hey, do you know anything about this? So that way you can build a good community, because being an introvert, like I said, will only get you so far. Me personally, I'm gonna tell the story to the day I die. If I was still to be an introvert 3 months ago, yeah, we're in March now. So 3 months ago with Chenae, I wouldn't even be on this call. But I allowed my extroverted, introverted self to say, hey, and kind of take that wall down, so I didn't get bombarded with her following and say, oh, she's this huge person on LinkedIn, she's never going to see my comment. When whole time she knew me just as well as I knew her. But
and we met in person, like,
and we met in person. Yes, she came to my daughter's birthday party. So you just never know where your connections will lead you. And I try to let people know, being an introvert it is overwhelming, and it's always easier said than done. But just take those chances. You literally never know. Like, take those chances, communicate with people. If you're going to Target, I know every girl loves the Target run. Go to Target and just see people, like, and just network, and just, or not even, let's take the word networking out, because I know that can seem overcrowded, but just communicate. Like, just use your options that's in front of you to just talk to people. Like, there are people that I go to when I go to Target or whatever stores, and I wear, like, now I wear my resume shirt. They're like, oh, like, I've been at Target 5 years and I want to leave Target and I want to go somewhere in tech or wherever they want to go to. But they would not have had that conversation had I not allowed that conversation starter piece to kind of be there. And this is me being an introvert, and this is just my way of silently advertising myself, just to say, if you do need help, here's how you can connect with me, and this is what I can do. So it's just little ways, whether you have a brand or business or not, just kind of ease your way out there. Don't bombard yourself and think that you have to write a book every time you want to network with someone. Just a simple hey, a compliment, I like your profile picture, I saw your kid's birthday was last week, or you got a dog, I got a dog too, or whatever you find in common with them. Like, just try to find little things, so that way it's not the most overwhelming thing to get you to the next place that you want to be at, because the end goal is to be at the right goal and not stagnant. This is a year to be on the platform and moving up in the world, whether big tech, little tech, baby, premature tech, whatever you want to do, get there. And we're just here to help you get to your goals.
Love that. Thank you. So we are going to wrap right there. So I want to thank my panelists for staying a little 20 minutes over than what I said. We appreciate it. We just wanted to make sure we answer as many questions as we could. Please connect with all of these amazing people on the call. If you go back through the comments, you'll be able to see all of the you'll be able to see all of the links that are linked to their profile. So please connect with all of them. They all have services as well that they provide individually. Erica and NECA, they both do resume review. I do mock interviews, LinkedIn profile review, salary negotiations, salary recruiter cousin coffee chats, anything, templates, anything you ask for except for resume review. Bobby also has his link for his direct me for you to book services with him. Jamila has an event that is also, the link is in the chat as well. And then the last thing I will say, and I will let you all go, is that I will be in Charlotte tomorrow for an event that is going to be in the Microsoft Charlotte office. So for those of you who are thinking about coming to that event, it's in my post on my activity. So please feel free. This is your time to come to event, to connect with people and talk to people and be great. So I hope you all have an amazing night. Thank you all so much for coming, and we will chat soon. Have a good one.